Good afternoon. This is Ryan Ortiz, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the utilization of LinkedIn. Wanted to follow up with everyone today just to make sure that you are all aware that as anything comes up, if you have questions along the way, stop me, write something in the chat interface, and I can definitely work with you any way that I can to re-explain or help you to understand some good tips and tricks to utilize in LinkedIn. We'll wait just another minute or two. I think we'll have probably a couple stragglers potentially, so we'll just wait for another 2 minutes and then we'll get started. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Thank you, Tim. Perfect. So let's kind of get started with the reason to use LinkedIn in the first place. A lot of individuals, when they're looking at dealing with a new vendor, when they're looking at even for a new opportunity for a new job, recruiters, companies, other business professionals that want to work with other companies, they will look at LinkedIn. They'll want to understand a little bit about your background. A lot of what we'll see is people will actually go over to LinkedIn. They'll look at a lot of different details. So I'll kind of step through it. And first of all, I'll just kind of denote a couple things that, a couple quick tips and tricks. So as an example, if there's something that pops up that I'm like, you know what, I don't want to see this, I can literally click on this and say, hide this post because I don't want to see something that's being driven, whether it's ads or other content. I can hide that information to better tailor what I see versus what I don't want to see. Now, I'm going to go over to my actual profile, and the login here says Ryan McFadden, but I'm actually Ryan Ortiz. So a couple things you'll notice on my profile is the fact that I have an all-star profile. You'll see how many individuals have actually viewed my profile, and they'll also see some information regarding views of any of my posts that I've actually posted in my feed. Since I don't have a higher level profile, I will not be able to see who actually has viewed my profile at this point. If I click on this, it's going to say, try premium for free in order to view that content. So that's not available to free users. If I were going to use this as a premium user, then I would be able to see that content. Now, for the views of your posts and your feed, that's something you can definitely look at. You can see what did I share. You can see how many people actually viewed the information. You'll see what's going on. And it'll give you kind of a record, like a roadmap of what's going on and what you've done. One thing you'll note is I try to make sure that I have everything denoted as clearly as possible. So one thing I try to do is make sure that within the experience profile that I'm having everything denoted so it lists by company. If I click on this, it should take me right to my company that I work for, which is Vision Computer Solutions. It should take me there within LinkedIn. And you want to have that tied so people have a good understanding of who you work for, what type of industry you're in, and everything that you're doing around it. Now, in order to actually have an all-star profile, you need to make sure you add your industry and location, your current position, your 2 past positions, your education information, a minimum of 3 skills. You must have at least 50 connections, and then adding a profile picture is also a critical thing. And a lot of people will say it doesn't really matter what you put out there, but you're representing yourself right there. So if you're more of a creative director, you might want to have more of an edgier photo versus like a CIO or a CEO. But from a technology aspect, Christina, it looks like you're getting an error. I would go ahead and refresh. Or you can try logging out and logging back in as well. Did that work for you, Christina? Right. Any content that you unfortunately missed during this particular presentation, we're happy to make sure that this is going to be available later on our YouTube channel. So for sure, make sure to view our YouTube channel, and we'll have all that content out there for you. One thing that I like to do is to showcase my skill sets. I like to show the recommendations of the people that I work with, or people that are peers, or even my clients. And so what I'll do is I'll make sure that they're all denoted in here. But one thing that people don't realize is that you can start to play with this a little bit more. So if you go into this and say, you know what, as an example, maybe I want John here to go above Greg. Well, I can literally take this right here and move it up. And in doing so, what you've done is you change the order. So now it systematically understands, even though this is dated as April 29th, 2016, it's going to show as the first content in your recommendations versus Greg DePinto. If I want to change that back, all I have to do is drag it right down below it, and it'll move right back to that center point. And it's critical. And then the other thing too is maybe later on, you don't want to show a specific review or recommendation on your profile. You can actually uncheck it here. So there's a lot of versatility that you can do in regards to getting this done. And I always recommend to try to get recommendations, not only from your peers, but also if you have customers or other vendors that you're working with, go for it. It's good just to be recognized. I know specifically reaching out to people within other organizations has paid off in dividends for me. I'd say 75% of the reason that I'm with Vision Computer Solutions today is because of our marketing person, Abby. I met her at an event for Microsoft. and we were part of a networking group. And at that time, we exchanged information, and we also connected on LinkedIn. When I was at the point in my career where I was looking for a new opportunity, I reached out to Abby via LinkedIn, and that turned into a job opportunity over here. So, good things happen when you're doing the right steps, utilizing the tools that you have to the best of your ability. And you never know what's going to happen, but it's always good just to check things. So going back into my profile, I'm going to pull this up here. You'll see that not only can you put in words, but you can also put in media. So you can put in video content. Earlier this year, I did a video, and it was how to delay sending an email in Outlook, and that was on our YouTube channel. I was able to then take that content that we had on our YouTube channel and then repost it over here. So anybody that wanted to view that content could also then utilize my content from LinkedIn to be able to view that content back anytime they'd like. Any other certificates of completion, anything else that I wanted to put out there, maybe it was a PDF, whatever else I may have found, I can do that. Well, even if it's a website, maybe I could say, you know what, I want to drive you to this particular link right here, and then this says view the source. Well, if I view source, now it's going to take me over to a particular news article. So there's a lot of things you can do right there to make things simplified, but also engaging for the people that are looking at the content that you have there. Obviously, you want to make sure that if you have any form of education, you want to place that in that, and any feature skills, you want to place that in there as well. And one thing I'll denote, which I think is kind of a really cool thing, is just how organized LinkedIn is with the information. It's not cluttered with too much information, so don't make it more than it is. The other thing I'll say is where it says software solution sales professional, typically when you change your job, whatever your job title is, automatically is going to ask if you want to replace this line up here with that particular job title. Some people don't want that to be the same title, some people do. But you want to be aware of that you can actually still go in there and make those changes. And changes are actually the most critical thing you can do on LinkedIn to make it more tailored to the perception and then the way you want to show your data. So if I click on this little icon right here, right off the bat, I can change the headline. I can change a lot of other information right here, including the summary. And again, I can change a lot of other things, but this is actually the biggest one I wanted to show you. So a lot of people, when they make a single change, I make a letter change within my summary, I made a title change within my current position, whatever it takes. And what we'll find is that if we have share profile changes enabled, which is this little tab down here, you'll actually find that you're actually going to run into problems because you might not want to really share a particular change you made because it's grammatically something you wanted to, change up if you would. So with that, I typically leave it off unless there's a major change. And when I want to make a major change right before I post it, that's when I go ahead and click the on button so I can actually see that change. And then everybody that's in my network will see those changes as well. So you're not flooding them or inundating them with too much data. Now, another thing that I like to utilize quite a bit in here, and I know a lot of my coworkers do as well, is the messaging system. Now, what I like here is just how you can actually change the information to work for you. And I'll tell you, it's great how you can do everything. And within a text profile here, where you're just throwing text back and forth, understand that you have the ability to share content. So you can share a picture, you can share an attachment, You can even rebroadcast somebody's information that was sent via an update on LinkedIn to a specific individual. So if I click on that, now she can actually read, that is Abby, can read the information that I had forwarded to her. So I could say, you know what? I want to actually, share this. And then instead of just doing this as my feed, send it as a message. And then I can put in Abby here as I wanted to and say, oh, I want to send this over to Abby and share it only with her. Now you're not broadcasting it to the world. You're only broadcasting it to a specific individual or group of individuals that you choose. And I think it's critical because, there's too much information that gets sent. And it's in other forms of media for sharing information, it's very forgiving. But in this one, I'll show you something really quick. And I'll use Abby because she works with me. I cannot delete this content. Sorry. If I hit the send button, LinkedIn is not very forgiving. So be very careful what you do here. If you right click it, nothing happens. If you click on it, nothing happens. It's permanent. And that's a critical aspect of utilizing LinkedIn, that the content that you're writing specifically within the messaging area cannot be deleted. And that's critical just to know so that you're not just saying, well, I can always edit it later or make an edit similar to like Facebook or something else. Anything that's written in there is permanent. So really be careful what you write. I'm going to go right here into settings and security and privacy because underneath the settings tabs, there's a lot of just basic information, phone numbers that you're going to utilize to access this, email addresses, obviously the language, and then there's a whole slew of them. The biggest tab that I have the most fun with, though, I believe, is my privacy. So my privacy tab, again, it shows me a lot of information that is critical to me. Who can see my last name? I have that to full. Do I have anybody that I'm blocking? No. But do I have anybody I want to follow and change that particular criteria? I can do it right here. This is an interesting one, and I set this up beforehand just so I could show you how this can actually get changed. So job seeking. I'm not seeking a job, but you have the ability to go in here and say, you know what? I want other people to know that I'm potentially looking for something. Or maybe I don't. Maybe I want them to know that I'm not looking for something. So if I click that, now it's saved right there so that you're not looking at that. You're not getting blasted as much with individuals that are trying to reach out to you thinking you might be interested in a potential opportunity. Now, what I like too, and I use this because I've unfortunately been hacked in the past, and I use what's called two-step verification. This is also a tool you can see in applications, or I should say more like email. For Gmail, they have two-step verification, and there's other products. So in this case right here, I have it turned on, which means if I walk into a new browser window and I'm not logged in to LinkedIn on that particular browser, when I go to log in, it's going to prompt me for a code, and that code is going to be sent to my mobile device. If I don't have that code, I cannot log into that device. So that deters somebody from potentially hacking your LinkedIn account because you have that turned on. And especially with, everything that's gone on lately with ransomware, WannaCry, you name it, there's been everything that we've been hearing. Anything that you can do to proactively help yourself so you're not opening yourself up to vulnerability is a crucial way to, of course, improve your workflow and decrease your chances of getting hacked, if you would. Going back to the account and scrolling up, this is probably the one spot which, again, you'll see your total number of connections because on your main page, you're going to see you're going to see my you're gonna see the on my main page. You're not going to see that information. If you go back over here, you view the profile at this particular area, it's going to say here is your page, and it says 500 plus, but you won't know the total number of contacts that you actually have. So in order to realize what you actually have, that's where you want to go to find out and keep track of that. Now, another thing I'll show you too, as long as we're in LinkedIn, is how you can use CRM as or I should say LinkedIn as a CRM tool. So if you have contacts that you're working with and you're trying to build relationships maybe with a vendor or something else, I'll tell you, I think LinkedIn is a great area to utilize that, but utilize strategically. Don't just blow out of proportion, send messages to people you don't know. But if there are people that you've built a relationship with that and you're trying to grow a specific camaraderie with, or you're trying to share some good quality information, by all means, showcase things. Again, utilize the chat interface is probably going to be the key thing, sending them information about things that you think that they would be interested in. Maybe it's their specific industry information that you're able to send them over. And I think that's a critical piece right there. Going back over to messaging, I'm gonna show you one more thing. So one of my good friends, Adam, he works for a company called Parks Title. And so he was actually this Parks Title company is actually a company that we would like to see if we could potentially add as a new customer. But because I have the relationship, I wanted to leverage the relationship, and I didn't want to derail what I already have set up there to potentially grow that opportunity. So when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're sending good information and you're trying to showcase what's going on. At the end of the day, by being forthright, being upfront with someone like that, he came back to me saying, you know what, I want to pass your information over because you came forthright, you came over to me the way that you did, and asked me to send over the information to he could put that in front of his business owner. And that's the way you want to use a tool. You want to use it strategically. You want to make sure that you're reaching out and you're doing the right things to help the people that you're working with. And another thing too, I mean, even internally within your organization, the chat interface is a great tool. So I'll find a document, I'll forward this out to some of our members of our team and say, hey, this is a problem right here. Look at this. DocuSign Breeze generates massive phishing campaign against Limmer. So when I see that, I want to share that with my management team. I want them to realize what's going on. They're probably already aware, but whether they're aware or not, if it's something that I think that is business critical that we could definitely benefit from learning more about because we want to help our customers, we want to be more educated to be able to be proactive when we see things like this, we want to make sure we're sharing that information. So that's where the content becomes important to share. So at this point, I'd like to open it up for a few and see if there's anyone that's listening in that wants to do any sort of chatting in the interface, to ask any additional questions, to understand any other things that I've talked about, or has any additional questions, or needs to learn something else as regards to how to better utilize LinkedIn. Well, again, we thank you for your time. We appreciate your follow-up and your ability to listen in today. We hope you learned something. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me I'm happy to share more information. And we thank you again for joining us. Take care and have a great day.